Hey friends, we're here at the shop, and while I'm waiting on snow to land outside and while I'm waiting on some parts to fix these old sleds, I just wanted to make this video to show you exactly what you should be looking at, what you should be paying attention to when you're buying a used snowmobile so that you don't get scammed and you get into the right sled for you. We're going to be using my 1993 Skidoo Formula 470, which I did pick up used as well. It's got kind of a cool story behind it, and I thought it'd be a great example of what we're going to talk about in this video. I was looking on Marketplace one day and I found a Skidoo Mach Z, about the same year as this one. Messaged the guy, went and looked at it. He was in the business of either buying storage units or he had a storage unit business. These two sleds were in a storage unit for many, many years, and the guy ended up dying. This guy obtained the storage unit and the two sleds. So I go over to the guy's place, and in the garage he had the Mach Z, of course, and then he had this one sitting right next to it. And it became pretty clear to me pretty quickly that the Mach Z wasn't in as good of condition as this one. So I started looking over this one. Everything checked out. It had bad gas in it, but everything else that we're going to talk about in this video was pretty fair. It was worth it for me to put the money and time into this sled to get it running again, especially for $600 that I paid for it. Now, once you found a sled, something you're actually interested in, something that seems like a good deal, you're going to talk to the seller, and I always ask questions. You want to know as much as possible about these machines before you actually go over. I can't tell you how many sleds that I've owned. I've done tons and tons of transactions. I've done this since high school, so I definitely have some experience in this, and I like to ask questions as much as possible with still being respectful and not overdoing it. Some common questions I like to ask are, how many miles are on the sled? If it's not posted in the ad, you want to know how many miles, because if it's high mileage, you're looking at possible engine rebuilds, or at least some engine components that need replacing, as well as suspension, track, everything on the sled. Over time, these sleds wear out, and if it's got high miles on it, they're not built to last. They will break in some areas. And knowing how many miles on it will tell you how much this sled's been used. How long have you owned it for? So this is kind of a loaded question, because if they say they've only owned it for a couple months, they might be trying to offload it for some reason. Or if they've owned it for a few years, they are probably going to know the maintenance history on it, and they'll be able to tell you more about the sled. Has there been maintenance done to it? So touching back on that, if they've owned it for a few years and haven't done any maintenance, well, that's kind of an issue, because these sleds require maintenance almost every year. If they have done maintenance on it, well, then they can tell you a little bit about the sled and some stories about it, and you can find out what's been fixed, what's been replaced. And I like to ask, what is the reason that they're selling? So this is, again, kind of a weird question to ask, but you can kind of learn a little bit about it. If they're just trying to offload it, they might give you a shady answer, or they might just tell you, well, I'm getting out of snowmobiling, or I'm looking for something bigger. And those are all fine answers. So let's start looking over our machinery here. So this, again, in 1993, so you got to take the year into consideration as well. Once you're looking at the sled you want to purchase, I want you to start very, very basic here and just give it a visual. Just walk around the sled, look for any blemishes, any damages, anything that looks weird. I'll be looking at the seat, see if there's any rips, looking at the hood, any cracks, any damage. Not really anything going on with this one. Got a little bit of a dent here on the bumper. Looks like they maybe towed themselves out of a ditch or something. Nothing crazy, almost can't even notice it. Gonna look at the tunnel and the running boards here. Looks to be pretty true. A lot of times I'll see these, if they don't have the wishbones that connect the tunnel to the running board, they can start to bend over time. But this one looks pretty straight. Another thing too, guys, when you're looking over this machine, I want you to keep in mind all of the little things. So I want you to keep a running tally in your mind about how much this would cost to get it up and operational, or at least to the point where you would want to operate it. Things like those little rubber stuff, I wouldn't worry about that, but you're gonna look at, like, if this hood was really damaged, there was a big gash in it, you're looking at a new hood. But these old sleds, you're not going to find a hood. You're not going to find a new hood. You're going to have to get a used one, and those can be very pricey. You're going to look at your trailing arms. You're going to look at the suspension real quick, see if there's any grease popping up. Trailing arms look really good, really straight. Skis, we're going to look at the top of the skis, see if there's any nicks or cuts in the plastic. This ski also looks very good, although very dirty. Don't be afraid to pick up the ski. Check out the carbides. Carbides look pretty decent. Pretty rusty, but it's to be expected if it's been sitting for a bit. Carbides are cheap, not a big deal. Look at the bushings. If anything pops out, anything's getting worn, this one here looks like it's starting to weather crack a little bit. Not a big deal, pretty cheap, pretty easy fix. You're gonna look at the belly of the sled, check the plastics there too, especially in the front underneath, because that's where people hit stumps a lot. And this one, once again, appears to be in good shape. You can also see your arms here, make sure that nothing's dented. Make sure they're true. I see just the slightest little bend on that arm right there compared to this one, but again, not a big deal. Stand right in front of the sled. and make sure your skis are straight. If your handlebars are straight and your skis are straight, that's a really good sign. If it's off a little bit, well, then you probably got some alignment issue or something's bent underneath. The seat, especially in old sleds, you're gonna look for rips in the seat. A lot of them are gonna have it because you wear these things out pretty easily in the cold. Once you sit on them, especially here, they start to rip. And I see it a lot here or in the middle, in front of where the rider sits. It'll start to crack just because the cold and this material doesn't fare too well over time. There should be, yep, okay, so there's a filter right here. A lot of times these filters over time, they'll start to degrade. This one seems to be in good shape, but if you pinch it a little bit and pull, you can see a little bit of dirt right there. They start to wear over time, and again, that's not a huge deal to replace, but something to consider. You can definitely tell, if I was looking at this machine, I would be able to tell that this was stored inside for many years. And now we come to the track, which is super important, obviously, for a snowmobile. And we're gonna be checking this out, making sure there's no missing lugs, no holes underneath. If it has studs, check and make sure there's no studs that are pulled through. And when you do this, you're gonna want to check the whole track, all right? So right now, we're only seeing a little bit of the track. You can see underneath because I got it propped up too, but we're only seeing less than half of it, right? So right here, to the back, and then on the bottom we're only seeing the little bit here. You're going to want to take it off of the stand that it's on, or if it's not on a stand, you're going to pull it forward, and you want to make sure you check the whole track. That's really important because I've seen a lot of times, and not to say I don't trust everybody on the internet, but a lot of times this side will look really good. If they're trying to hide something, it'll be on the very top where you can't see it. So it's important to check the whole track, and don't be afraid to pull it forward if you have to do so. I've seen some pretty beautiful tracks in the back and some pretty nasty ones in the front, so don't get fooled there. The track can also tell you a bit of a story too. I like to do a lot of carving on this channel, which you guys know, so you'll start to see the nubs on the very sides on the end of the track start to wear off. This isn't anything crazy at this point. It wouldn't be worth replacing, but something to keep in mind. If you got your lugs all the way ripped off on this side, somebody's been doing a lot of carving, and likely when you go to carve yourself, you're not going to have a good time because you got nothing to grip on. So make sure you check all the lugs. This track seems to be in pretty good shape, and of course I have checked the whole track through, and it's pretty much the same all the way through it. You're going to come down here, you're going to look at your suspension, all right? So with the sled sitting on the ground, if you push down a little bit, it should move 1-2 inches and then spring right back up, just like that. This is great suspension on this sled. If it's squishy, if you push it down and it's just gradual to come back up, you're looking at probably a worn out spring or something going on in the suspension, and it's not going to be as comfortable of a ride, and you're going to have to replace it at some point. Same thing if it's completely stiff and you can't push it down at all, you got something wrong with your suspension, it's not going to be a fun ride for you. So a couple inches of clearance, springs back up. That's what you want to see. You're going to want to check your bogey wheels as well. Now, some people call them something else, and I don't remember, but I've always called them bogey wheels. You want to make sure they spin correctly. Feel behind, give them a little bit of a twist, shake them a little bit. If they're very loose, that's looking at a new replacement. Now, they're not super expensive, but it's something to consider when you're buying. These ones seem to be in real good shape, real tight. While you're looking at your bogeys, you're going to look for any cuts or any chips in the plastic, and here's a good example of a bogey wheel that needs replacing. You can see where the plastic has broken off, or the rubber has broken off on this bogey wheel, and you'll notice some resistance when it touches the track, and then it spins freely where it is actually not touching the track anymore, where that rubber piece is moved. Well, then once you get back into it, it's a little bit stiffer. So you want this to be touching the track, and it's going to start to wear the track out over time. Not a big deal again to replace them, but something to consider. Now this right here, this plastic piece, this is called the Hyfax, and it sits between your rail and your track to protect your track. Now there's actually wear marks on this, and if you start seeing it gets up to the wear mark, that's when you need to replace it. It's not super hard to replace, and they're not really expensive, but it's super important to protect your track, because otherwise this rail is going to be cutting into your track, and that is not good. You're going to look above the track at your tunnel, where you're going to see the heat exchanger, and some of these fins are busted. That's going to be really important because coolant runs right through here to cool your sled down. If one of them is broken, you're just going to be losing coolant, and then no coolant, and you're going to blow up your sled. So very important to check your tunnel underneath, especially if you have studs on your track. A lot of people will jump these, they'll wear out these guides, and they'll run picks or studs right through their coolant lines. And again, bad news, run out of coolant, blow up your sled. This one, again, seems to be in really good shape. The guides, I don't think the person before me jumped this very much, or if they did, very minimal. Of course, there's no studs in it either, but looks to be in good shape. This is really smooth, and they're not worn out or chipped or anything. So look under the hood now. So if a sled's been sitting for a while, you're definitely going to watch out for mouse damage. Can't tell you how many times I've ran into that, especially in the air box. They'll get in the air box, even get in your carburetor, and they'll plug things up. So this one seems to be pretty clear on the inside. Look underneath. I've had mice in the exhaust as well. Not something you can really check right now. And just give a quick visual, looking over everything. Look at your fuel lines, look at your coolant lines, oil lines, everything. Get down underneath. Don't be afraid to check it over really well. The guy that's selling it to you, he definitely won't mind, unless he's trying to hide something. Check, make sure you got coolant in the lines. They'll feel stiff, which this one does. A lot of times too, and this is something people won't tell you, but I like to give it a quick touch on the exhaust when you show up to the guy's place. If it's hot, he might have started it before you got there, because it might have a hard time starting or whatever reason, or he just got out of storage and wants to show it to you. But I am skeptical if it looks like it's been sitting in one place for a bit and it's warm to the touch. I would be a little bit skeptical of that. You can come over here, check on your belt, make sure the belt is in good shape. You're gonna want to look for any rips, tears, chunks missing on your belt. This one looks pretty good. Make sure it's the right size too. If you pull it and there's a lot of slack, chances are it's not the right size, because it'll start skipping over your clutch here. Check your clutch a little bit. This one's on rollers. My sled's on rollers right now. Give the clutches a visual. That feels right too. You'll get the feel of what a clutch is supposed to feel like when you move it. Continuing with our visual, looking at any cracks in the boots. Don't see anything wrong here. It looks a little dirty on the inside, but I'm seeing the lines look really good. An old Mikuni carb. Another thing too with the belt, if you see a lot of dust down there, that could tell you that it's the wrong size, or your clutch is not engaging properly. You'd see a lot of belt dust right here as well, which I don't see at all, and that's a good sign. You can look at your electrical wires too, see if there's any cuts or splices or chew marks or anything. While you're looking through your engine too, you're gonna make sure, check the oils, check the coolant. This is the full mark on this sled. We're actually getting low down to the minimum down here, so this sled needs oil. If it's ran out of oil, obviously that's a reason for concern. You should talk to the seller about that. Coolant, looks like it could use a little bit of coolant, but there's the full line. For the most part, our engine bay here looks pretty good. I haven't seen anything popping out at me, which is not a surprise because I've gone through this already. But be sure to look thoroughly through everything. Take your time too. Don't feel rushed because there's a seller there. All right, so now that we've done a visual on the whole machine, if everything's looking good so far, or if things are looking bad, just keep in mind how much they would cost. It's time to start breaking into some more important stuff that have to do with the motor and the running of this machine. The first thing that I like to do is I always bring a compression tester with me, and I'm gonna check both the cylinders. So they're pretty cheap, buy them online. It's worth it to have one. Keep it around, keep it in the garage. Anytime you want to buy a machine, always check the compression. For these sleds, you should be looking at about 125, 130 compression, both cylinders. If you have less than that, it's getting into like 100, 110. First of all, it may not even run, but if it does, it's not going to run very well, and you're going to be looking at an engine rebuild in the near future. And that's something you can talk to the seller about. If it's something you want to fix, you want to rebuild it, talk to the seller. He might go down on price a little bit just because it's not a perfectly running motor. Now, I don't have a compression tester with me, but I know that this one is reading about 130 both cylinders, and it's a beautiful running machine. But something you should definitely buy. They're very cheap. Just buy one, keep it around, and check your compression whenever you're looking at a machine. So with compression checked, we're gonna come over here and give our throttle a squeeze here, right to the bar if you want to, as long as it's not running, and kind of gauge the reaction it has. This is how it should be. It should snap right back. If it's gummy and it slowly rolls back, you probably got some gummed up carbs, and you'll have to clean your carburetors. Could be something else going on. Could be a pinched cable too as well, but you want that good snap. You're gonna come over to your brake now, and you want resistance on this. You want it to move maybe half an inch. This one here is an older sled. I know it stops well, but it's got a little bit more of an inch resistance on it, and it is stiff too, which is good. That's what you want. If it goes right down to the bar, and there's no resistance, that you're looking at either replacing the cable, something broke, or your brake pads are shot, or something with the brake system. But you want that 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch with resistance. And once again, keep all this stuff in mind when you're talking to the seller, when you're figuring the price in your head. Obviously the seller has a price in his head, but you should always be willing to negotiate a little bit depending on what you find with the sled. Go through it, ask him questions, talk to him about it. If you want to come down on price a little bit, or if you think it's already a good deal and you don't mind spending the money to replace these things, then you can do that too. But he should be willing to come down a little bit based on what you find with this. For example, if you have a track that's bad, that's $400-600, something like that. He should be willing to come down a little bit, especially if it wasn't in the ad that the track was bad. This sled happens to have a primer versus a choke, and I know this works well, so I gave it a little bit of shot of primer. You can hear it squeezing through the lines into your carburetor, so that's good. Make sure that works. Look at your carburetor, look at the choke cable if you have one, and you can actually feel it moving as well as visually see it moving on the line most of the time. Now once you've gone through all those things, you're going to want to start it up, of course. If it's not running, well, that's something you're going to have to take all these things into consideration on whether you want to buy it or not and see if you can get it running. But if it does run, you're going to want to fire it up, see how it runs. You can look online, see how a sled should sound. If it's only run on 1 cylinder, you're going to figure that out pretty quickly. It won't sound right. If it's run on 2 cylinders, idling beautifully, then you're looking good. The idle depends on how things are set up with the engine, with the carburetor, but this sled, I think we idle about 1500, which is totally normal, and it idles great, and has a clean idle. It doesn't flutter a little bit. If you notice some fluttering, that could be something with your carburetor, could just need a tune-up. But watch out for flutter. If it idles smoothly and stays in one spot, that's perfect, that's what you want. You're gonna want to check your throttle response once it's running. Your little lever here should have a little bit of play before it actually starts to engage the throttle. That is what it should have. You shouldn't be so tight that it's affecting the idle. If it is, they're probably compensating for something that's wrong with the carburetor. But you want just a little bit of slack before you engage the throttle. And when it's running and you do engage the throttle, you're going to want to check for a steady raise on your tachometer just to make sure that things are running smoothly. If there's some hesitation or starts to spit and sputter when you give it some throttle, again, you're looking at something's going on with the carburetors most likely, and it'll need some adjustments or a good tuning. But check for good throttle response, smooth takeoff, and if you have that, you're looking good. If it chunks while taking off, it could also be something with your track, something with your suspension. There's a number of things it could be, but what you want is that smooth takeoff when you initially start. If you got a key, you want to make sure the key shuts off. Your kill switch should also work too. This one doesn't have a key, but it does have the tether right here. Check the tether too if you want. If you do notice a little bit of hesitation at takeoff or anything sounded weird, you can check your gas. And obviously you're not going to bring tools with you to check the gas thoroughly, but you can do a quick whiff test. You can ask the seller when the last time they put gas in it was, but just do a quick whiff test, see if it smells right. That's kind of something you learn over time, what gas should really, good gas should smell like at least. But if it's good gas in there and it's still sputtering, chances are it's not the gas, and then it leads you to something else. Carburetor, motor, whatever it is. So we've looked over the sled pretty thoroughly. Let me know if I've missed anything, guys. Drop it down in the comments so we could all learn from it. But for the most part, those are the basics on what you should look for when you're buying a new sled, so you don't get ripped off and you get the sled you want. You don't have to spend lots of money to run it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see anything else. Pretty soon we'll be back in here working on some other machines and hopefully doing some riding soon as well. So I'll see you then, guys. Thanks for watching. God bless.